Greetings from the Alexandrina Council. Let's meet the driving force behind the Alexandrina community. Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald. Mayor, Keith Parks. Deputy Mayor, Councillor, Michael Scott. West Ward, Councillor Bill Coomans. Councillor Michael Scott. North Ward, Councillor Craig Maidment. Councillor Sue Miller. Councillor Christy Thornton. South Ward, Councillor Margaret Gardner. Councillor Millie Livingston. And finally, Councillor Peter Oliver.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our council meeting of the 20th of April 2026. I want to just let you know that an audio recording of the meeting will be made for minute-taking purposes and will last the length of the open meeting, and the audio file will be available on the council website. And we also have our friends here, as usual, from South Coast Television, who make a video of the meeting, and that also comes up on the available online. So just remember, the council meeting is a public place, and there should be no expectation of privacy, and there's no such thing as privilege as far as statements you make. You're in a public venue. Make sure any phones or smart devices put onto silent so they don't cause an interruption like the last one did. And also like to really welcome the members of the gallery. It's great to see a good turn up in the gallery of people obviously interested in things that are before us this evening. For those unfamiliar with the venue, the toilets are directly through across the foyer straight in, and in the event of an emergency, you follow us all out the door, but we gather on the lawns in front of the medical centre next door, and yeah, that's good. I'd like to welcome our elected members. We have no apologies or leave of absence. I'd like to welcome our Chief Executive Officer, Andrew MacDonald, General Manager Community, Stacey Basin, General Manager Infrastructure, Alan Harvey, General Manager Corporate, Tash Hunt, Chief Financial Officer, Andrew Alderson, Group Manager Regional Development, Matt Atkinson, Manager Governance and Communications, Lachlan Miller, and Tanya Cregan, who is our Minute Secretary, who supports us at this meeting with minutes, etc., and also the other staff who are here as required. I'd ask you, if you're able, could you please stand for the local government prayer and acknowledgement of country? Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to grant thy blessing upon the works of this council. Guide us in our deliberations for the advancement and the true welfare of the people of this district. The Alexandrina Council and its communities acknowledge the Ngarrindjeri, the Paramount and the Gardner people as traditional custodians of the lands and waters of our council district. Thank you. Item 1.3 is a declaration of interest by members. So if a council member has a conflict of interest for the purposes of Part 4, Division 1, Subdivision 4 of the Local Government Act of 1999 in a matter which will be before the council at this meeting, they're asked to disclose the interest to the council and provide full and accurate details of the relevant interest at the beginning of the meeting. Members are reminded they must also deal with the conflict of interest in accordance with the relevant provisions of Subdivision 4 at the time the item arises for consideration. We have a conflict of interest from Councillor Miller relating to item 9.5, and we don't have any others. Any others got last ones? No. So item 4 is deputations. 4.1. Where? Not there. Further on. I'm sorry. We changed some of our format of our agenda from time to time, and I sort of think I've lost it, but I've still got it. We're right. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Rob Raybon on behalf of the Middleton Pioneer Community Association to talk to us regarding their application for renewal of their lease at Middleton Pioneer Hall. So Rob, welcome, and it's good to see you here. And do you need more than 5 minutes?
No, Mayor, I would like to think it's going to be short and sweet, as I think you most probably all want as well.
Thank you.
Can I just say, it is the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall Association, and I don't want to get mixed up with the Middleton Community Association. So anyway, thank you to Mayor Parkes for allowing the deputation, and thank you to all councillors and staff for listening. From small, humble beginnings to our now vibrant community hall, after the Education Department made available the school and residence to the local council in 1968 for the use of the Middleton Community Association, the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall Committee was born. Funds were raised by the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall Committee, and with generous donations from community and other loans, the existing hall linked to the schoolhouse was built and opened in 1980. With further fundraising, the smaller hall, which we call the supper room, and kitchen was added in 1990. The land adjacent to the hall was generously donated by Mrs. Beryl Tuckwell to the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall Association, which was surfaced and called the Beryl Tuckwell Car Park, serving the hall. In a somewhat unique situation, the hall and schoolroom and residence are Crown land, given to the council to lease out, and we've held the lease, but the car park is actually owned by the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall Association. I must say, we do thank council because they did help with providing us with disabled parking signs and disabled parking area. So that was very helpful. The hall was very popular for community meetings and particularly community dances because of the wonderful sprung floor that is part of the hall. And we recently refurbished that floor. In current times, it's now used by the wider Alexandrina community, with a variety of groups hiring the hall on a regular basis. We cater for the young with Fortuna Dance Academy, right through to the aged with My Care Solutions, and many age groups in between. There are now some 12 groups hiring the hall on a weekly basis. The most recent and pleasing is our association with the Middleton Community Association in providing a subsidised playgroup for the young parents and children who are increasing in numbers in our community. Hall hire for one-off events is increasing. The Middleton Pioneer Hall Community Association have insurance to include ad hoc insurance coverage, which is mandatory fee to all groups who do not have their own insurance. Our hall is also attracting hirers from Adelaide and other areas outside of Alexandrina Council. The committee of the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall Association has been managing the hall successfully for over 45 years, and the latest committees have become more active and made the hall more viable than ever. We have refurbished the dance floor, installed air conditioning in the schoolroom, installed a large TV in the supper room, and renovated the doors between the hall and supper room. The current committee is very much focused on ensuring we are compliant in all areas such as liability insurance, booking requirements, electrical compliance and other matters. Some 18 months ago, we were informed by council staff that we could no longer use the residence because of structural and asbestos issues. So we have very much concentrated on the hall and hall improvements and have maintained the grounds of the residence to the best of our ability. This lease proposal is now for the school hall and hall complex and does not include the residence. While we would love to have included the residence, we believe we could not take on the responsibility of project managing and raising the funds, which we think will be substantial, required to bring it up to standard. Should there be funds found for a major renovation, we would gladly put up our hand and say, yes, we will include it in our lease and be pleased to manage it. The committee is seeking a new 5 + 5 year lease so we can plan and implement a number of improvements to the complex, which we believe will make it even more appealing to our community. We would like to achieve the following. This is in the 10 years. Develop a new marketing strategy to increase community awareness, improve the grounds with gardens and a child-safe lawn area, improve our hall booking system, installing acoustic panels to improve the acoustics of the venue, renovate this old schoolroom with a repaint and new flooring, install internet and security systems, revise and update our maintenance program, update our asset register. We'd like to investigate EV charging stations as a potential income opportunity and as a service to our community and tourists. Given that this lease proposal will go to community consultation, which we look forward to as we look forward to any feedback, it will delay the new lease, so we ask that we are given the opportunity to discuss with Council our options for relinquishing the residents as part of our lease immediately as we are unable to use it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much, Rob. Are there any questions? Councillor Maidment.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Do you have any indicative cost on the renovations to the schoolhouse and what that entails, or a ballpark figure even?
Sorry, to the school residents?
Sorry, the residents, yeah.
Look, I'm not a builder, but given the state of it, I think most of us would agree that 300,000 would be struggling to cover it.
Any other questions, Councillor Coomans?
Thanks, Rob, for your presentation. And I've also read your submission, and it reads very well, so congratulations on that. You did mention before there was 2 groups that were in play for that particular centre. One was, I'll try and stop essing. One is the Community Association, the Middleton Community Association, and one is your group. Is the membership of both of those much the same, or are they totally... I know from an incorporation point of view they're different, but in terms of membership, is it much of the same?
The Middleton Community Association has a much wider, broader membership.
Yeah.
But certainly I would say that every member, in fact, every member of our association is a member of the Middleton Community Association. We work very closely together, but I just wanted to make sure that it is the Middleton Pioneer Community Hall Association.
Yeah.
Which is quite separate to the Middleton Community Association.
Yes. And previously you had an income from the dwelling, an income from the dwelling, the resident?
Yes, yes.
And you also had an income from the institute,
yes,
which is now looked after by the arts group. That means you're going to be a bit short in terms of finances, or how are you going to make that up?
No way at all. We most probably have never been more financially sound. For the last number of years, we've always kept at least $20,000 to $25,000 as a backup, and that's given the fact we have spent a lot of money on the floor and air conditioning and TV. We've still managed to keep that, and currently we have over $30,000 in the bank.
And I guess the final one I was going to ask you was in terms of the dwelling, and I think you've answered that at the moment you don't have an interest because it needs a lot of work. But once council has finalised that work, is that something that you'd like to incorporate into the leasehold?
Oh, definitely. We with the number of inquiries we now get for the hall, we could easily use those rooms for smaller groups, people wanting to use a remote office occasionally, all sorts of things. It could become quite a community hub. And we would certainly put up our hand and say, yes, but we're only a small committee. We didn't believe that we could support the $300,000. Can I just say, sorry, but perhaps I've thought, and had a talk with Andrew and that about this, that council mostly has a better ability to get those funds with government grants or heritage grants than we would ever have.
In relation to the car park, Now, I understand that the association actually owns that. It was sealed some years ago. Was that funded by the group or by council?
I think it was funded by the group. The council did help us with marking out some parking spaces, but it is my belief that the bitumising was done by us. By council, was it? Oh, so sorry, thank you. Council did contribute some money to it.
Any further questions? No. So thanks very much, Rob. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
So 4.2 is a deputation from Claire Webber, and that's regarding the Clayton Bay bike track. So welcome, Claire. Good to see you here.
Thank you, Keith.
Do you need more than 5 minutes?
Just a little wee bit.
Okay.
30 seconds more if possible. Thank you, everybody. Mayor Parks, elected members, administration and CEO, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Claire Webber. I'm a mum of 3 teenage boys. I'm a long-term resident of Clayton Bay, and I also co-own the Clayton Bay Riverside Holiday Park. Today I'm here to represent the children, families and the broader community who support the proposed community bike track. Why are we here? This project has already been through consultation, it's been approved by council, it's been funded, and it's progressed to concept stage. Today is about reminding you why it matters and why it should proceed. Bike riding is one of the most popular activities for children and young people. It's simple and it's widely accessible. Facilities like this encourage kids to be active outdoors and connect with others. Shared recreational facilities become a natural meeting point where children, young people, families and the broader community can come together. This project sits directly within Council's strategic direction. It delivers on livability, connection, active lifestyles and is accessible infrastructure in a very practical, on-the-ground way for our community. Now, this project did not appear overnight. It's been shaped over a lengthy 5-year period. It began in 2021, when the need for recreational facilities for children and youth was identified through the first Clayton Bay Village Conversation. In November 2023, Council undertook its first MySay consultation, proposing either a bike facility or a basketball court. Majority of respondents, 55%, supported a bike facility over a basketball court. The proposed location of the project was in the Clayton Bay Reserve, adjacent to the existing playground and toilet block. 67% of respondents supported this proposed location. In December 2023, a second village conversation took place. Despite the small turnout of only 41 people, further support for a bike track facility was demonstrated. Neither of the 2 village conversations involved any sort of formal voting. This was more simply a way to demonstrate support for ideas raised. In mid-2024, Council endorsed continuation of the project to a design stage and funding was approved. In October 2025, the second MySay consultation took place. This time not asking if, but what type of bike facility the community wanted. With 123 respondents, the community again engaged strongly. Whilst 29 respondents were opposed to any type of bike facility, the remaining 94 respondents were in support. A pump track, which was sealed with asphalt, was the clear preferred option. January 2026, the progression of the project was paused following concerns from a small number of Clayton Bay residents, pending discussion at a community-led forum hosted by the Clayton Bay Community Association. After years of planning, consultation and investment, we're now at concept design stage. This is not a new idea. This is a community-supported project that's been building momentum for half a decade. The decision to place the project on hold did prompt strong response from supporters of the project, particularly from people who'd been engaged through the formal consultation process. Confusion and frustration followed for many. Concern was raised about the delay, especially given the multiple rounds of MySay engagement, council endorsement and inclusion with the adopted budget. High levels of engagement followed from the community, many seeking clarity on how a project that had progressed through formal council processes was being reconsidered outside of that framework. The Clayton Bay Community Association Forum in February did provide an opportunity for robust discussion. Whilst informal and without council representation, it clearly demonstrated continued and strong local support for the bike facility. Parents and other community members and even children spoke their mind. They were loud and clear. We want this bike track. Across every stage of engagement, the message from the community has been clear and consistent. Through formal MySay consultation, community discussions, through written feedback, which you as elected members have received, there is clear and sustained support for a bike facility in Clayton Bay. That support is not limited to one group. It's coming from older residents, parents, young people and children themselves who have consistently expressed how much they value this facility and they want to see it delivered. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the work of the Council's project team. The report and concept design reflects years of engagement, planning and careful consideration. It clearly demonstrates that the community has been listened to, not just those in support, but also for those who have raised concerns. It's important to acknowledge that not everybody supports this project. From the consultation results, we know the key concerns relate to the loss of trees and the visual impact of the facility. The project's concept design shows that these concerns have been taken seriously, with no tree removal proposed and a design that is integrated into the natural environment, not opposed on it. It also shows a facility that's practical and aligns with how families and young people actually use these spaces. At this point, the question is no longer what should we do? The work has been done. On behalf of the children, families and supporters of this project, I ask you to proceed with the bike track in Clayton Bay. At some point, consultation needs to turn into delivery, and that point is now. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Claire. Any questions, Claire? No? Councillor Coomans.
Thank you.
Sorry, thanks Claire. Yeah, I noticed yours was a late request for a deputation, but I did have a look at the report that's on tonight's agenda. Is that you're fully in support of what's that's proposing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? No, thanks very much, Claire. Well done. Thank you. So we did get a little bit out of whack with our agenda, I'm sorry, but we'll pull back into line in a minute. So item 2, we'll go back to that, which is confirmation of minutes. 2.1 is the confirmation of our minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting of the 16th of March 2026, and there's a recommendation that they be received as true and correct. Move before that, Councillor Livingston. Second, Councillor Gardner. Any questions or discussion relating to those minutes? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.2 is the minutes of the Section 41 South Australian Wood and Boat Festival Committee of the 16th of March 2026, and the recommendation that they notes be received and noted. Move to Councillor Oliver. Second to Councillor Livingston. Any questions relating to those minutes? If not, put that to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.3 is the minutes of the Southern Communities Transport Scheme Advisory Committee of the 18th of February 2026, and there's a recommendation that they be received and noted. Move Councillor Gardner. Second, Councillor Oliver. Any discussion relating to those minutes? I'll put that to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 2.4 is the minutes of the Agricultural Advisory Group of the 1st of April 2026, and it's a recommendation that those minutes be received and noted. Moved, Councillor Scott. Got me. Second, Councillor Coomans. Any discussion relating to those minutes?
I've just got a question on the minutes. It seems like all the motions they're marked as consensus achieved. Is that a new way of approving a particular recommendation or motion? Normally we say carried or unanimous if it's all of the members.
Through you, Your Worship, thank you for the question, Councillor Coomans. Because it's an advisory group, they don't do resolutions in the way that a council or a Section 41 committee do. They make their decisions by consensus. And that's consistent with all of the terms of reference for the advisory groups. They're all structured the same way.
So if it's unanimous, is that also noted, or is it just by consensus?
No, there's no requirement in the terms of reference for it to be recorded as unanimous. Although quite often consensus achieved actually is done unanimously, but it's not recorded necessarily as that.
Any further discussion? Not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Item point 3 is adjourned debate. There is none. Item point 4 we've done. Item 5 is petitions. There are none. Item 6 is questions with notice. 6.1 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding visitor information services in Strathalbyn. 6.2 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding the Strathalbyn railway station precinct and future plans for stage 7 of the Strathalbyn town centre revitalisation. 6.3 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding cat management, domestic and feral, in Alexandrina Council. 6.4 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding the Strathalbyn Town Plan 2014 to 24. 6.5 is a question from Councillor Miller regarding the Grange Research Development Corporation weed management project tracking resistance from both sides of the fence. And the questions and the answers to those questions are in the agenda. Item 7 is questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice? Councillor Maidment.
On the 9th of the 12th, 25, there was a development application, reference number 250375250. It was lodged for replacement of the retractable seating system in Centennial Hall. It's got building consent and it's currently under assessment. Now, the cost of that will be quite considerable if you look at automated seating. It could be anywhere from $700,000 to $1 million. So I'm just asking, which particular budget will that fall into, and is it covered by a long-term financial plan?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm just trying to recall exactly what document that would have been in, but we haven't come to council yet asking for which style of new seating system we would require. So I think the plan that we've discussed as a team is that we're going to wait until the 2-year trial is up, and as we're starting to assess the outcomes of that trial and the feedback received and who is utilising that hall and the types of uses, we'll then work out what the style of platform would be and whether there's anything else in the hall that needs to be looked at, potentially the AV system and lighting. So I'm not sure where that information is. I can take it on notice to look right into it on Plan SA. I'll have to take that on notice and I'll work with the planning team on that. Thank you.
Any further questions without notice? Councillor Coomans.
Look, I've got to ask this, Mayor Parks. It's in the questions with notice, it's usual for one councillor to ask a myriad of questions, and this happens every month. It takes an inordinate amount of time for senior staff to answer. An example is on tonight's agenda, over 10 hours of senior staff time to answer those questions. And it's very much the same in the previous months. Does the CEO have some sort of advice in terms of a better way of trying to manage this sort of, if a councillor wants some information, is there a better way rather than having to take this amount of time? Things like links to reports rather than researching the actual reports and giving the answer and things like that. It must be taking so much time. It's not just senior staff, there's probably other staff who are also taking time to participate. And, it's a lot of resources being used. Has the CEO any suggestions how to do something about that?
Thank you for the question. First and foremost, council members have a right to ask questions on notice, as they do with notices of motion. So council members have that right. However, all of my senior staff are always available as a shorter method to pick up the phone and have the conversation. But again, members have the right to put forward questions on notice.
Any further questions without notice? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. My question is further to Councillor Maidmans. I do recall in a briefing that we were advised there was a request for $30,000 or something as an interim measure regarding the seats in Centenary Hall. Can I please just have an update on that request and if anything has progressed with spending that money? Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks for the question. So that project has all been finalised. I can't actually remember which month it was now, but I think it was February, where the seats were made safe. So essentially, every single individual seat was locked down, making sure that no one could accidentally put their foot on a part that would push the seats forward. And down the sides, if you think about walking through the building, you could actually walk under the seats, which probably wasn't right either. So we got that fixed with panels that were already on site. And that budget was found within the existing operating budget, so no new funds were required.
Are there any further questions without notice, Councillor Miller?
I just have a question about Councillor Cooman's question. If that's a question about my behaviour, is this the appropriate forum for such a question to be asked?
Through the chair, I don't believe it was a question about behaviour, but perhaps about process.
Are there any further questions without notice? No, we'll move on to item 8, which is notices of motion. And this note, motion 8.1 is a notice of motion from Councillor Miller regarding council meeting or information briefing sessions in Strathalbyn, and we have, which I'll express my opinion. I dislike the way the motion's presented, but we'll go with it. It should be separate motions, not all in one. So motion number 1 is moved by Councillor Miller. Do you wish to speak to it and move it?
I do, Your Worship, but I wish to remove point 3. And I know I just also wish, I'll remove point 3, thank you, and then I'll speak to it. I appreciate the advice that you have given me there, Mayor Parks, but I can't seem to get it right in how to present motions because I've put them all in one once before and asked to separate them and you wouldn't let me separate them. So I submitted these motions with sufficient time to receive advice. So having said that, I do accept there may not be time to make arrangements for this meeting. I still also don't quite understand why it costs so much technically, when we could all simply use a handheld microphone and maybe once just to have a handheld recorder. The budget impacts on every ratepayer, so perhaps in future we can turn our minds to budget workshops and council meetings in venues other than Goolwa, so that the community can witness how the draft is built. I don't really see why we cannot just schedule, when we set our council meetings, to have one meeting a year in Strathalbyn. So in terms of the agenda for the May council meeting, I understood there was going to be a report on the Visitor Information Centre to that meeting. However, I put this to my colleagues and I've split them so that we do get opportunity, Your Worship, because you won't take motions without notice. If this fails, then I'd like to test either a briefing session in Strathalbyn on these subject matters. So I put it to my colleagues. It's up to them if they support it or not. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder? Seconder? No, so that will lapse through want of a seconder. Now, I was going to get Andrew to speak about Strathalbyn VIC particularly first, but I'll get him to talk now if you wouldn't mind, Andrew.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. It's probably timely to provide, I guess, a little update on the Strath Information Centre. Members are aware that on the 23rd of March we had an information session where we discussed potential co-location of the BIC services. Key concern was the cost of running that particular service. However, since that session, I've met with approximately 15 Strath VIC volunteers and discussed a range of alternative options. And I've also had an informal discussion with Rex Keeley, Strathalbyn Tourism Association, regarding possible approaches. And it's become clear to me that additional cost reduction opportunities may be available and should be considered. These include retaining the VIC in the current location, but potentially under a different operating model that addresses the costs incurred by our ratepayers. Accordingly, additional time is required to fully explore a variety of options, and I also consider that a council workshop should be held to consider those options prior to formal consideration by council. I'm looking to schedule a workshop probably in June with a report possibly in July. However, the timing will be subject to having all the relevant information to be able to put in front of council members. So we haven't locked down specific dates at this point, but we are working hard to engage appropriately with the community and other key stakeholders in Strath.
So we've got motion number 2. Councillor Miller, you wish to move that and speak to it?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I do wish to move that Council resolve to hold the Council meeting at which adoption of the revised Strathalbyn Town Plan is to be considered can be held in Strathalbyn. There was a very strong response to this on Wednesday at the Town Hall all day, or from 10 until 7. It's a significant generational document for our township and surrounds. And the response to the survey today, I understand, has been significant. I respect the decision of my colleagues regarding this, but this is what my community asks of me to ask and to put forward, and that's why I do it, because that is what my community is asking, is for a council meeting in Strathalbyn at least once a year. We've done it twice, and I'm very grateful for that, as is the community, and the community responded each one of those times. So if this doesn't get seconded, that's fine, but I just want to make it very clear that I don't make this up or do it to annoy people. This is a request coming from my community, and that's why I'm doing it. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder for that, which is motion 2? A seconder. So that will lapse through want of a seconder. So we go to motion 3. Councillor Miller, you wish to move that and speak to that?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I do. If nothing else, for the fact that these motions have appeared on the agenda and I would like them to be dealt with. And so, yes, I am moving that the Strathalbyn Information Centre decision be determined at a venue in Strathalbyn.
So do we have a seconder for that? No, so that one will also lapse through want of a seconder. We go to motion 4, which has got A and B. Do you wish to move that and speak to that?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Worship. So this is relating to information briefing sessions, and I acknowledge the officer's advice on this. This is a briefing session, not a council meeting. I think that there was support for, in fact, it was at the last council meeting in Strathalbyn, I believe, that council members did support, not a council meeting, but holding a briefing session in Strathalbyn. There are some significant topics coming up for briefings that affect our township, And I don't apologise again for bringing these forward. This is what my community is asking me to do, and that's why I'm bringing them forward. And it's really now over to my colleagues whether to support a briefing session in Strathalbyn, which would be I know Councillor Coomans has in the past suggested that a briefing session would be better because that does probably provide more information to the community. So I'm hoping that this at the very least will be supported. If it's not, I accept the decision of my colleagues as well on this. So I can only put it forward. This, as I said, is my most important of the 4 that I've put forward. And I just want to stress, Your Worship, this motion is not about us and how inconvenient it may be for administration or council members to attend a briefing in Strathalbyn. This is about the community that we all represent. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder for motion 4, Councillor Maidment? And you wish to speak to it?
Yes, I've been waiting for this one to bob up because a briefing session is an informal gathering, imparting of information that the community are seriously interested in. Certainly these 4 items are foremost in their minds, and it would be a great opportunity for our locals to see how we go about determining and getting this information to gathering this information and then getting it back out in the community.
Any discussion? Councillor Coomans?
Just got a question, Mayor Parks, in relation to a briefing session in Strathalbyn on those particular matters. Is that the only matters that will be discussed at that briefing, or will it be a general briefing that may include other items as well?
Through the chair, if this motion is supported, then we'll need to look at our forward meeting schedule to determine whether there's any other, I guess, matters or items that coincide with that timing.
So I feel that it could include other items that may be of interest to the people who live, residents who live in the western side of the ward or anywhere else in Alexandrina?
Potentially.
Yeah, look, in a sense, I don't have a real issue with this, but I'm just thinking of, when I look at the gallery, every information session we have here and every council meeting we have here, there's always a group of people who attend, who are very much local, who are from Port Elliot, Middleton, are very interested in what happens in this council. There aren't many others that do the same thing on a regular basis. So we're now going to tell them, sorry, if you want the same sort of information, you're going to have to go to Strathalbyn. From my point of view, it doesn't make much difference whether I travel to Strath or to Goolwa. The distance and time is about the same, so I don't have a real issue. But I also note the 2 previous meetings in Strath, the first was in the church hall. It was a good roll-up. But towards the end, there were very few people left. The one we had in the echo chamber, or the Strathalbyn Town Hall, I think was a bit of a disaster. But again, we had a reasonable amount of people turn up, and towards the end, there was only a handful of people left. So, and then to spend that sort of money for setups and things like that, staff travel, it really isn't worth it. I mean, we live in the country, and we used to travel. The drop of a hat, I'll go down to Noarlunga, or I'll come to Goolwa or Victor Harbour. Travel really shouldn't be an issue. So I guess my suggestion is that it's for ulterior motives rather than good governance. And I think not necessary at all. This is our council chamber. This is where we have our meetings. This is where we have our briefings. This is sort of home to all, should be to all elected members and to staff. This is where we conduct our business, not other places. So I'm not supporting this.
Councillor Scott.
If I may, a question and then a comment. And it's along the lines of what Councillor Coomans asked, but more specifically, is there scope for us to there are 3 or 4 subjects here that are listed in motion 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Could some of those be amalgamated on one night and we have a Strath-centric briefing, which I would support being held in Strathalbyn? But just to have one thing and everybody got to Strath for one thing, I just thought there could be some economies of scale, because if it's about Strathalbyn's a big centre now, and it's not unreasonable for us. I think that the meeting should be here, proper council meetings with all the equipment should be here. But as far as a briefing, I think it's not unreasonable that we perhaps, if we can bundle those together so that it is a whole lot of stuff that is really of interest to Strath. You'll get people with young children that won't want to drive down here but wouldn't mind ducking into a briefing just to hear what's happening in their town. I think it's a compromise, and we're meeting our community in that area a bit, their needs and requests. So we're not being completely negative to them, but it would be good if we could lump 2 or 3 of those together to make a worthwhile night.
Mr. Thornton.
I'm in support of this. I was thinking that it was going to be lumped up. That was my thought process anyway. So it'd be great if that can be confirmed. It's a bit sad to hear that Councillor Coomans thinks Strathalbyn and surrounding town residents aren't worth it. I think the people that don't stay...
Point of order, Mayor Parks. That's not what I said at all.
That's right. Okay, that's right. That is not what he said.
I think that people at every meeting leave throughout the night and it's quite empty at every meeting, so I don't think that's something that would apply to Strath. Strath is growing, as Michael Scott said, so I think it's really important that we do this, and information sessions, we've been told previously, aren't at a cost as great as a council meeting is.
Any further discussion? Councillor Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. Just noting what other members are saying, I wonder if there is room with the mover and seconder to slightly tweak this motion, that it essentially says that council hold in Strathalbyn 1 information and briefing session, and then in brackets or more at the discretion of the CEO. And the reason why I say that is that I can anticipate there being multiple information and briefing sessions relating to subject matters which are listed there, and my concern is how the wording is presented at the current point in time, is that it is restricting the CEO, which usually it's the CEO's job to decide what is happening with information and briefing sessions. So I just wonder whether that would give more flexibility and in turn get more support in the chamber.
So, Councillor Miller, you are prepared to accept that addition to it?
So just to be clear, what am I being asked to do? I'm being asked to vary, or is this an amendment to my motion?
That's exactly what's written on there. The council hold in Strathalbyn 1 information and briefing session or more at the CEO's discretion relating to the item.
Sue's asking, is there a request for a variation? Is that what's happening?
Well, it is, yes. Which was why I'm asking the mover, are you happy with the variation to it? It's yes or no?
If this will give this every chance of success, then yes, I am. But I'm happy for that. All I'm asking, my intent is to have a meeting, an information briefing session in Strathalbyn. If they're all put together, I don't know, am I debating? I'm just trying to clarify. I thought, okay, so it's me varying my motion.
Sorry,
that's what I'm asking.
We're not going into discussion. It's a yes or a no. Yes or no?
She's just asking if she vary.
Is it a yes or a no?
Yes, Your Worship, yes.
So, Councillor Maidment did a second. Are you happy with that? So that's okay. I'll leave the meeting. All in favour of including that? Yep, that's good. That's in. So is there any further discussion? Councillor Coombs, you've already spoken to it. A question, yeah?
Yeah, on the Wednesday the 3rd of June, Council is actually holding a community forum on the community plan and the long-term financial plan in Strathalbyn. And that's normally lasts for 1 hour. Could that not be extended to incorporate something like this?
Through the chair, it's going to depend on the timing of those matters being ready for an information session. So I can't actually confirm whether it will be ready for that specific date at this point.
Any further questions or discussion? Councillor Gardner.
I won't be able to vote for this because the last time we held a council meeting in the town hall at Strathalbyn, it was so the sound was so poor that most of us could not hear half of what was saying. So I will be voting against.
Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Nick.
Can you turn your microphone off, please?
I'll also be voting against. I think we're actually cherry-picking Strathalbyn for a special treatment. What about Middleton? What about Port Elliot? What about Mount Compass? What about Hindmarsh Island? You know what I mean? So I think we shouldn't change the rules just to suit one location for one set of stuff. We either do it for everyone and do it fairly, or business as usual.
Any further discussion? Before you have your right of reply, I just have my opinion on this. I agree with basically what Councillor Oliver said, but this is how our head office, this is our chamber, this is where we do our business. So if we start moving it around, we're going to have to move it to every town, wherever there's something that's important to that town. And lots of things we decide on are very important to those towns. And we've managed for, probably close to 30 years since amalgamation to get away with it without anything going wrong. It's quite amazing. And here we are, we're talking in the middle of budget and costs and expenditure, and all we want to do is spend more money moving meetings around. People who really want to come to this will come. It's not much difference in the distance from probably time to drive from Mount Compass to here. It's probably more than Strath to here. And sometimes, depending on the traffic, Port Elliot and Middleton's not that much quicker. I feel sorry for Langhorne Creek. If anybody, they're further away. But we don't have meetings in Langhorne Creek. So I think it's unnecessary. I think it's something that if you really want to make a thing of it, put it to the next council when the council is adopted, the new council, in that meeting to put it as part of the plan for the council for the 4-year term, to have meetings in elsewhere. That's the way it should be done. You can have your right of reply if you wish.
Thank you, Worship, and I thank my colleagues for their input. This is an information briefing session that has very little cost to it. We sit here with the tables pushed together. We could have it in a venue of our own. So I do respect the feedback and the discussion. I don't really see why it's such an issue. This is not a huge expenditure. I'm just stunned that people can compare travelling from Port Elliot or Middleton to Goolwa with travelling from Strathalbyn or Langhorne Creek to Goolwa, but that's not what this is about. This is about the community that is a third of our community. Our council area covers, I think it's 182,684 hectares. Our community is diverse demographically and geographically. One information briefing session. We've done 2 council meetings quite easily. This is not unreasonable, and I really don't see what the problem is. These initiatives that I've nominated are significant to the township and surrounds. But every decision we make impacts every single ratepayer. What we decide on these topics is of relevance to every single ratepayer. The budget is relevant to every single ratepayer because we all pay for it. So it's certainly not about picking who's more important and who's not. It is about our changing community, something that we did 30 years ago and we don't do now. Well, you know, needs changed, community expectations change, technology changes, accessibility changes. I really can't say too much else. I'll put it to the vote. I don't think we need to spend any more time on it. Thank you.
So that ends the discussion, so I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 9 is administration reports. 9.1 is the council member resignation of Councillor Lou Nicholson, and we have recommendations there from A through to D, so we'll start with recommendation A. Is there a mover for that? Move, Councillor Gardner. Yep.
I definitely want to recommend this, and congratulations to Lou. She did extremely well, and for someone to get over the line using preferences only, that's pretty great. Now I'm sure she'll be a very good member for Finnis.
Councillor Coombs, you're seconding it? Yep.
Look, I would like to second this, but I'd also ask the mover whether she'd consider sending a thank you from this council for the services of both Councillor Nicholson and also the member for Finn, the previous member for Finnis, David Basin, whether we should thank them for their service and wish them well for the future, whether that's prepared to be, she's prepared to include that in the recommendation.
Yeah, so Councillor Miller sent something in an email with some suggestions, and I think it's more than just Lou. We've got also Matt Adrian Pedrick, Leon Bignell, and so we need to thank them also, and David Basham, of course. Thank them for their support over the years and wish them well into the future, and all the others, and the ones that have only just been declared, confirmed today.
If the mover is prepared to do that,
we can thank them as well. So
yep,
we can put that all in there.
I'm happy to second that. Right. That we thank all four politicians for their service to the area.
Yes, I'm happy with that, Mayor.
So that's, is there any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
I thank you, Worship, and I thank Councillor Coombs for adding these words, because I did send through these exact words asking for advice whether the Mayor would accept these words or whether it would be necessary for me to foreshadow a motion. So thank you very much, Councillor Coombs, for adding this. I think it is exceptionally important that we acknowledge all who were elected to represent us and also those who have represented us. So yes, I think this is a worthy addition. I do acknowledge and congratulate former Councillor Nicholson on the campaign that she conducted and the community for their choice. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Yeah, Councillor Gardner did. I asked her. Yes, she's happy with that. Yeah, yeah. So put recommendation group A to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Go to recommendation group B. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Livingston. Do you wish to speak to it? Is there a seconder? Councillor Oliver. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So a recommendation group C. We've got. Yep.
I was led to believe that it can be any elected member, but I've been told that the terms of reference say it must be a ward councillor. I'm sorry, it was told to me as I walked in by a member of that committee that the terms of reference said that it should be a ward councillor. If so, I'm the one that's left, so I'm happy to nominate.
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor Coomans. I'm assuming you're referring to Group C, which is to do with rattling bashing speech. Yep. You're correct. The terms of reference specifically say West Ward Councillor.
Parks, there's only two of us, and Councillor Scott's already a member. I was going to decline because I've got so many things on my to-do list, but it's a quarterly meeting, so I'm prepared to nominate.
We're at Group C first. So we're determining whether or not we've got C1 and C2. Either one of those, we either do appoint a councillor to that position or we don't. So do we
C2? Move C2.
That we do? Yeah. And you wish to speak to it?
No. Well, I guess all I can say is at the start of this current council period, all three ward councillors nominated, and it was decided that Councillor Nicholson and Councillor Scott would become the members, and I was quite happy with that. But since there's only two of us left now, I think it needs representation. It should, and if the terms of reference say that it's only me able to do that, then I'm quite happy to do it. The meetings are quarterly, so in terms of time, that's fine. And I was asked by the chair to nominate.
So, do we have a seconder for that? Mr. Gardner? Any discussion? Councillor Miller? Okay.
Thank you, Worship. I too did read the terms of reference. It also says council can vary the membership at any point in time by resolution, so that really wasn't a factor to me who the council member would be. I don't have an issue with Councillor Coomans being on this committee. I was actually going to suggest we don't appoint anyone. We've only got 9 months left, or 7 months left, I think. The committee meets quarterly. I don't think they've ever struggled to have a quorum, to my knowledge. So I'm not supporting this, only because I don't think we need to appoint someone, not because it's of who it is or anything like that. I just, but if Councillor Coomans is happy to do it and he has the time, then all power to his arm, I guess. Thank you.
So is there we're on recommendation group C at this stage, any further discussion on that? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? You against or with us? Councillor Miller. Let's do it again. All those in favour? Against? Against.
Are we determining to appoint someone and then doing the appointment, or are we appointing Councillor Coomans?
As I said, you were unfortunately talking to Councillor Oliver. We're talking about recommendation group C, which is just that we are going to appoint a councillor to that role. It doesn't say who, we're going to appoint a councillor to the role. So, all those in favour? Against? It's carried. So, recommendation group D gives us opportunity to see that, well, I guess we've got to find out first, do we have any? Councillor Livingston.
Question. Do we need recommendation group D if there's only one candidate, or can we just go to E?
Well, we need to find out first if there's any more than one person wishing to.
So there's only one person that could.
Well, we believe there's a possibility another member may, at the discretion of the chamber. I know it's making it extremely messy for 6 or 7 months, isn't it?
Is there any other interest?
Is there any other interest in it? If not, we will just go straight to Group E and appoint Councillor Coomans. So is there a mover for that? Councillor Gardner. Seconder, Councillor Oliver. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Item 9.2 is the new lease proposal for the Middleton Pioneer Hall Community Association, and there's a recommendation there with 4 dot points. Is there a mover for that? Move, Councillor Scott. Second, Councillor Oliver. Is there any discussion? Councillor Coomans, you wish to speak?
Sorry, you got ahead of me a bit, but I notice in the community consultation document, it has a stakeholders to include, and I just wonder whether we should include the local, state and federal member of Parliament. At the moment they're excluded, so whether in fact we should include them. And also the Alexandrina Residents and Ratepayers Action Group who cover that area, whether in fact we should send them the consultation, consult them as well. I don't think they're going to have an issue, but because they cover the area, maybe they should be covered as well.
Expect that Tash answer that.
Yeah.
Through the chair, we can include those 2 stakeholders.
And I'm not clear in the report if there is a requirement for the lessee to pay council rates. There was a cost of $500 for the lease, but is there council rate requirement unless they request 75, 100%?
Through the chair, I'll just refer to our manager of property and procurement for that one.
So through the chair, any community group can request a 75% rate rebate that is dealt with internally, or 100% through the chambers. They haven't requested that at this time, but that can be dealt with as a separate matter and brought through back to the chambers through the finance team.
The other question I had, what sort of budget are we looking for in terms of the works required on the dwelling? And has there been any consideration in the budget for those works?
So through the chair, the BCA is currently being finalised for that property, and they'll be prioritising the works for all the buildings. Once we bring back a report for the dwelling, the cost for the improvements will be included in that report. That is anticipated to be after the BCA is finalised, which is currently set for around August this year.
Through the chair, if I can just add, that's a building condition audit for reference, but I'll just clarify that it's not included in the proposed coming year's budget, so it's not on the cards for the short term.
Any further discussion? Councillor Scott. You'll close the debate. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I think this is great. I don't have an issue with it. I don't think just because someone's not named in a consultation document doesn't mean they can't submit some feedback. The only comment I wish to make is, if I've understood this report correctly, the $500 minor commercial community lease of $500 per annum, I think it makes a bit of a mockery of the fact that we don't charge some sporting clubs with commercial income and financial capacity to pay players significant amounts, only pay $1, and a leasee of this kind of organisation and community group is being expected to pay a $500 annual commercial fee. I'd like to see them not pay a $500 fee. I think that's a discussion for another day. I think we don't show consistency in some of these things. The fact that we're asking them to pay this $500 and others not, I don't quite understand the reasoning. I appreciate the quality of this report, and I look forward to hearing what the community makes of this, and I congratulate the Middleton Pioneer Hall Community Association on their deputation and on the quality of the information they've provided to facilitate making it easy to say yes to this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Scott, you close the debate.
Thank you. Behind this whole establishment is a story of extraordinary commitment and perseverance by a little group of extremely committed people 50 odd years ago to turn what was a schoolhouse, a schoolroom, into a hall. There were 3 or 4 people that really spearheaded it with a little extra group around them that raised money doing all sorts of things, lunches, going to clearing sales and catering, a myriad of things, dances and all sorts of things. And they raised the money to build the buildings that are there. And they did it in 2 stages. And if you look at the size and the scale of those buildings, and consider back, we're talking in the 70s, you will then perhaps appreciate the amount of work that went in to raise the money to build those buildings combined. The main hall with its high quality floor, and then the supper room and kitchen and toilets on the western side of it. And I witnessed that. I think anyone that lived in the Middleton district would have been involved in supporting some of those ventures. But at the time, they had the admiration of all the surrounding districts and people for what they did to create a hall of that quality. It's not just a bit of timber and some galvanised iron. It is a substantial building of brick with a bluestone facade, so it blends in with the old schoolhouse and the school room and the residence as well. Very well done. The finish on is exceptional, and I just hope that the community that is going to be consulted about this is aware of that history, because the current committee are the beneficiaries of that work, and other committees before them, beneficiaries of that work, that those elderly people, they were not young, and it was an absolute labour of love to provide Middleton with that facility. And I remember the late Alan Higgins, who was chairman of the District Council of Port and Goolwa at one stage, opening the second wing and saying that one day it will be used frequently by a variety of people, and how lucky Middleton is to have that sort of facility. So I just use that as a backdrop, and I guess I'm saying it would be a sad day if this sort of thing was not only supported, but encouraged and given every opportunity to continue to flourish into the future.
That ends the discussion, so I'll put a motion to you. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. (9.3) is a new lease proposal for the Clayton Bay Community Centre. There's a recommendation there with Group A and B and C. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Gardner, do you wish to speak to it?
I would, yes please. This again is another group at Clayton Bay, a very small community with very strong ties to their town. And the Clayton Bay Community Association has provided that support for this little town for many years. And it is a beautiful hall. I've been there for ballroom dances. We recently went for the 40th anniversary of the hall. Sorry. Sorry, I just got cramped. Yeah, I'm not having a heart attack. Sorry. And maybe that actually brought it on, just thinking about the ballroom dancing. But I would recommend this to you all. I think it is a very worthwhile association. I love Clayton Bay. I love the people there because they are so passionate about their town. Ooh.
Double check one thing with you. I did say group A, B and C. You happy to move the lot in one? Yeah, thank you. I did. Councillor Livingston, you to second it. Any discussion? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I just, very briefly, I appreciate the quality of this report too, and thank the Association for their long-term planning focus, and I look forward to seeing their plans come to fruition. If the 40th celebrations and reflections were any indication of what can be achieved, the next 40 will be rather magnificent too, I imagine. I don't mind that there's no community engagement, however I do believe the power of engagement lies in raising awareness and telling a very good news story of what can be achieved when community is empowered and supported, and when council and community work together. And council doesn't necessarily become overly or unnecessarily involved. So I think this is a great report. I think I'm very comfortable with supporting this, and congratulations to everybody involved, and I think it'll be another wonderful next 40 years. Thank you.
Councillor Scott.
Yes, I'll be brief because a lot of it's been said, but for a small community, they punch way above their weight. They are a strong community, and they're innovative. They do a lot in the environmental side of it as well, and if the more and as they innovative with that dark sky idea and everything, they're ahead of their time. So we need to support these small communities because council can actually make a lot of difference by supporting these little communities. So let's give them all the help we can.
Any further discussion? Councillor Gardner, do you wish to have your right of reply? No. So I'll put the recommendation A, B and C to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. So 9.4 is a discovery report on the Goolwa Wharf service review. There's a recommendation there with 2 dot points. I missed doing this earlier. Stacey, is there anything to add to that? I've missed that in the past, sorry. There's a recommendation with 2 dot points. Is there a mover for that? Move, Councillor Scott. Speaking to it?
Very, very briefly, when this came up in the beginning, when it was forecast, we knew it was going to be very extensive and intensive, and I think it's living up to its reputation, and we look forward to the ongoing reports that we'll get.
Do we have a second, Councillor Coomans? Any discussion? Councillor Miller.
I just have a question first, Your Worship, and I do then wish to make some comments. But my question is, on the bottom of page 110 is the paragraph, it should be noted that several operational matters were raised during these sessions by members of the community, and these are being addressed through the relevant internal channels. I just wondered what those several operational matters are and how they're being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So this was raised through the Tier 3 community workshop, at which I was at one of the tables for the 3 hours as well. And they were things like, so some community members thought they could come and just talk about the Wharf. They didn't sort of understand what questions were going to be asked. So we took all the information we could. It was very operational things like there's a light that's not working very well, there's some stones that need to be refixed, there's some paths that need to be looked at. Can that sign please be a bit clearer? Very, very operational, that we've raised with the right teams. So just, yeah, not to do with the actual review, but we wanted to take that feedback on and address it.
If I may, Your Worship. Just an observation. I think that the sentence multi-layered ecosystem would have to be the understatement of the century, if not the past 15 to 20 years or so, because when you look at the discovery documents on page 80, significant resources have gone into this precinct over the years. And I hope that what's happening now makes a decision about the Wharf precinct and how it's governed, because, you know, that's a huge page of documents of work that's been done in this precinct. So I look forward to this being completed and some outcomes, and I hope we really seriously look at the model that encompasses how that all those groups down there interact and going forward. And I did say this in the briefing session that, you know, there needs to be less council involvement, I think, going forward, and I hope that the community and private sector takes leadership of this once we have all this information. I think it's a really great, robust framework that's being followed in the process, and certainly no easy task. And I look forward to seeing the outcome of this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Nine 9.5 is the draft annual budget and business plan for 2026-27 for the Adelaide Hills Regional Waste Management Authority. Andrew, is anything? No. No, Councillor Miller, Mr. Miller.
I'd like to declare my conflict of interest, Your Worship. My employer is a constituent council of the authority, and council's decision will impact them, and I will leave the meeting and not participate in the debate or vote. Thank you.
So we have a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Move Councillor Maidment. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, only that I'm very gratified to see that a regional waste management authority is going to be trading in the black, and for that reason, I'm very pleased to move a motion that this be accepted.
So we have a second to Councillor Scott. You need to. I'm sorry. You need to tell me if you wish to speak, please. Yeah.
Yes, it is good to see that it's trading in the black, but I also want to just point out that one of the impressive things about this authority is the tight management structure that it has and the attention to detail. I'm, as you know, one of the delegate to it, and I've been very impressed with their management style and, as I say, their attention to detail. As we know, fuel is a challenge, and I suggested that we perhaps don't use the compactor quite as much, to save fuel because it runs at about 32 litres an hour, and I thought that was a great idea, only to find that the less you compact it, of course, the less you can fit into the cell, and capping a cell is a huge thing with about a 25-year responsibility afterwards, so you want to load it up as much as you can. So that was false economy. So we're stuck with having to take up the fuel, and you can see in a very transparent way how they're looking at the fuel, managing the fuel levy after the 1st of July.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Get Councillor Miller back here. Thanks, Alan. Right, we just need leave of the meeting to move item 9.12, the Clayton Bay pump track, forward to this point. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. So item 9.12 is the Clayton Bay pump track. Alan, anything to add to that report? No. So we've got a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Is there a mover? Councillor Livingston, second moving it. Councillor, speak to it. Councillor Gardner, seconding.
Yeah, just briefly, thank you, Mayor Parks. I think it's clear to everyone that the community is supportive of this project. Took us a bit longer to get there, but hopeful that we got there successfully in the end.
Yes, thank you. I certainly had quite a bit to do with the stopping of the pump track until the Clayton Bay Community Association had its workshop on the Saturday morning, which I attended, not only the Saturday morning, but certainly into the afternoon. And it was quite clear that there was a majority of people who wanted the pump track. But there was also a lot of people, in fact, the item that was voted for later on in the program made it quite clear that the foreshore was a top priority, and that's something that I think I brought back to the budget meeting that we had here earlier on, and we have in fact put in for 26, 27 a small amount, but at least it's beginning for the foreshore to be looked after in a way that it hadn't been looked after before. So it's going to take a couple of years before the foreshore and the oval in particular has reticulation and be a place where kids can go and kick a football or play cricket or just bounce a ball around. But in fact, Clayton Bay hopefully will get both the pump track and the foreshore. So even though it's been a bit of a trial for those who are living in Clayton Bay, I think the outcome overall is going to be a good one for them.
Any further discussion? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I love this report, and I just also want to thank Claire for her deputation and just summarising how we got to be here. And I think this is the right thing for the community,
And that's it. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion? So I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. So we go back to 9.6, which is the second budget review 25-26 of the Fleurieu Regional Waste Authority. Andrew, is there anything to add to that? No. There's a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Is there a move before that, Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Is there a second there? Councillor Gardner? Is there any discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. (9.13) is community engagement on future planning for the Goolwa Main Street trees. Alan, is there anything to add to that? Hey? I admit that I haven't got it. Right. So let me write it on here. So what about the rest of them too? So 9.7 is a Treasury Management Review 2025-26 for the Fleurieu Regional Waste Authority. And you've got a recommendation there with 3 dot points. So is there a mover for that? Councillor Scott.
I'd like to add, it's a very difficult time for the Fleurieu Regional Waste Authority, and it will be for a while, but we've got to support it. It is a very, very unfortunate situation, and we just have to keep pressing on with it. So that's why I move it. It's not good figures, but we just have to press on.
Let me just have a look here, make sure what's going on in my notes. I'll that as I go. So do we, yeah, I'm just going to find where all my pages are missed up. Is there a seconder for it? Councillor Gardner? Is there any discussion? Councillor Miller?
Just a very quick observation. I noticed the financial risk, the implications of adopting this are considered low, and I know the commentary there, but I just wonder at what point our operating position and borrowing position impact the Regional Waste Management Authority, because at some point either their tolerances or ours will become riskier, and I think we need to ensure we take that into account. Thank you.
Further discussion on item 7? No. So I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. So we have 9.8. Now that we've found all the pages, we're right. So now 9.8 is the Alexandrina Community Survey and Delivery and Methodology. Tash, is there anything to add to that report? So we've got a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Moved, Councillor Oliver. wish to speak to it? So that's somebody who's seconding it. Is there any discussion? Not, I'll put the recommendation. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I think this is great. It's been the missing piece and I'm delighted by it. I think it's proportional to our community's capacity to pay for something like this. I look forward to it being implemented and seeing the results as a benchmark. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 9.9 is the community forum dates for the draft annual community plan 2026-27 and the draft long-term financial plan 2026 to 2036. Tash, is there anything to add to that report? No. There's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Coomans.
And could I just note there that there is a meeting in Strath Neighbourhood Centre on Wednesday, 3rd of June. It may be an opportunity for other matters as well.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Oliver. Is there any discussion? No, so I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.10 is the draft community engagement policy. Tash, anything to update there? No, so there's a recommendation there with 3 dot points. Move, Councillor Miller.
Very briefly, I know that we don't have to consult the community on this, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity to promote this to our community. I look forward to hearing their thoughts. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder? Councillor Scott. Any discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.11 is the Department for Environment and Water, revocation of dedicated land for inclusion in the Coorong National Park. Tash has been to that. No, it's a recommendation there with 4 dot points. Move, Councillor Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor Parks. Just very briefly, and I'm fully supportive of this and the Minister's decision to purchase former Mundu Island Station. The only thing which I just want to mention, and just following on a MDA board meeting today, is the importance of both the state government and the federal government engaging directly with local government when making decisions and attending our regions and making announcements which directly impact, I guess, the people on the ground, and I hope that something does change in that respect moving forward.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Scott.
Just a question, if I may, too. Just looking at that historically, and I realise we're getting back in time, but would those little spots along that have been identified, would they have been places that were set aside for people that were navigating the area to be able to go ashore? Or would you think they were likely to be watering points for stock?
Through the chair, we are unsure on that. We haven't used them. They've sat on our community land register for a long time, but we don't know the full history of them.
And why I'm asking, Your Worship, is that if they are there and they were there for, bear in mind there was a lot of navigation of the river in those early days, is it the right thing to be actually eliminating? Should they be identified as places where people that are going around there are able to go ashore? And whether that's ever been considered?
Through the chair, I think the state government's intent is to make it a national park, which will probably give the property much more accessibility and the community access to the land. So I imagine it is really in the benefit of our community.
Councillor Oliver.
A very quick question. What's the difference between the Lorari Park being the conservation park versus being part of a national park?
Through the mayor, I'll have to take that one on notice. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Is there any further discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. .12 we've done. 9.13 is the community engagement for future planning for the Goolwa Main Street trees. Alan, anything to add to that report? No. So there's a recommendation there with 2 dot points. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Scott. Secondly, Councillor Livingston. Any discussion? Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Mac Parks. I just want to know, but I'm not seeking to change anything, but this engaging with the community on this subject is definitely important, and we see it a lot, and it comes up in SEAC quite a lot. But I do want to note that I don't think that it is an option to just remove the trees. It definitely has to have a considered approach, but nonetheless we'll support it.
Any further discussion? Now this has been going on since almost since Adam and Eve. It seems like it's been going on that long. It's forever, this discussion about these trees. So because I've been involved in this all the way along, there's a few things that aren't in the report, things that you could look at in your own time. So in Newcastle, in New South Wales, there's a street called Lamand Street. So if you go back way 30 years ago, they had these trees in Lamand Street, which is part of the square in the town square of Newcastle. And the trees were mature, so they're 3 times the size of the ones that are out front now. They're 1/3 of their mature size. And obviously, they've been there for a long time. They were doing enormous damage. And there was a lot of community backlash against the idea of the council having the trees removed. And it went on for years. And eventually it got to the stage where, because of the damage they were doing, not leaf litter, structural damage to buildings, that the council bit the bullet and went ahead and did it. The only thing that they did was they did remove them all, and they landscaped, then redid the streetscape and planted new trees. So that was a big step. The place looks beautiful now, but of course it looked terrible. One of the things that we've talked about, and which is one of the options sort of in here, is there's probably about 50 trees. They are the wrong trees. The ones outside the Goolwa Hotel will push that building over, given time. And I think we've had 3 arborist reports over the years on the trees. But one of the suggestions was that select the right type of tree, and then we buy mature trees and replace every 3rd tree. So 1/3. And then at the same time we buy a whole stack of juvenile trees, put them in boxes at the depot and put them on drippers from our wastewater and grow them to be mature trees. So say 5 years down the track, you could do the next one. So you've done 2 trees. 5 years later, do the next one, you've done them all, and you've all through that process, you've retained the tree canopy and the streetscape, but at the same time, what we talked about years ago was you re-look at Cadell Street. Look, the trees we need to go on both sides, not just on one side for part of it and one stage 2 bits. So it needs a streetscape design, landscaping, upgrade, maybe the street needs to go one way. All those sorts of considerations. It's a big move, and I know that people will be concerned about it. It's a very emotional thing. They'll be concerned about losing the trees, but should be done in a way which doesn't impact so severely. And they need to understand when we've talked about this before, it's all come back to it's about leaf litter. Well, it's not really about leaf litter. I mean, they do cause a lot of problems and a lot of damage with the litter. It's about the infrastructure that we talk about protecting our heritage, but we're going to we must take action to make sure that having the wrong trees doesn't damage some of our heritage buildings. So look after them and protect them. So it's a difficult one. I remember not many years ago when we did the up end of Cadell Street here into Goolwa Terrace, there was a slip lane there. We removed the slip lane in front of and we went past the front of the old police station, South Coast Regional Arts Centre, and there were 4 massive Aleppo pines. One of them had a branch that went over the road that you felt unsafe every time you drove under it. It was so big and so old and dangerous. Now, we removed all those 4 trees at once, and people were horrified. They were really upset and angry that we'd removed those trees, we'd spoilt the place. Then we landscaped it, planted the 4 trees that are in there now, and the next thing, people say, isn't it beautiful? We can see the police station now. We can see it. We couldn't see it before. So it's a real battle to get through this emotional block that we'll have. So this will be a controversial and difficult process. But I've already finished the debate, other than the mover. But yeah.
I haven't had a look at the actual community engagement plan, but I wonder whether there's scope to include something like that as an option, so people can actually consider that when they provide feedback, because that sounds like a very doable sort of option.
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. The option's in there. So at a high level, there's a staged or progressive changeover of trees. It doesn't stop anyone, though, from suggesting any other alternative action that they wish to put forward. But the list of 6 options is pretty covers most of those scenarios. So yeah, we would take any of those other suggestions on board.
I've pretty finished. I spoke, which is the end of the discussion, and I asked several times, and nobody put their hand up. So then I spoke. So I was going back to the mover to see if he wanted to write a reply. So. Unless it's a game changer, you want to say something?
Well, you raised it, the removal of the trees in its entirety. This council has a precedent set already where they removed very mature pine trees from Parker Avenue, which is a similar distance to Cadell Street. They just took them all out at once. If you go down Parker Avenue now and see what's been replaced, it's fantastic. So it's been done before and done successfully by this council.
So, Councillor Scott, do you want to write a reply? Right. No? Okay. Yes or no? Okay, so I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. And 9.14 is community engagement on the draft recreation, open space and sport strategy. And we can do these either way. There's A, B, and it said D, but it should be A, B and C, I think. You can do them all A, B and C, or you can do individually. Councillor Miller, you wish to move?
I wish to move all of them, Your Worship. Thank you. And would you like me to speak now? I want to thank administration for this. Previously, no such document existed beyond a planning or a rec plan for Goolwa. It's an important piece of strategic planning, and the role of the community now is to pressure test it and proof it for gaps. It's been a significant undertaking and will be an important guiding document. It demonstrates the complexity of our community and of ownership, management and planning for this type of infrastructure. It is very clear we have 2 major townships, Strathalbyn and Goolwa, and it is only reasonable and proportional to consider them separately when it comes to recreation, open space and sporting facilities. What you have produced with limited resources is excellent, and now we need the community to test and validate it, an important step in this process. Some of it is a little bit out of date already, but I think that just simply reflects the time it has understandably taken. And so I do ask the community to keep that in mind when they're looking over this. And I absolutely thank everyone involved getting it to this point. Thank you.
So do we have a seconder? Councillor Livingston. Any discussion? Councillor Scott.
I just want to draw attention to a couple of omissions or corrections that I believe are pertinent. And I've said before, I think it's marvellous amount what of work that's gone into this. But I did note that there was no mention of the Port Elliot Showgrounds, which is quite an important piece of open space. And with that, there was no mention that soccer was played on the Port Elliot Showgrounds and is up until the club gets access to the Port Elliot Oval, which is a 6-month cricket soccer combination. And also it mentioned that they go to Endeavour College. Now Endeavour College is actually up north of Adelaide. So I presume it's either Encounter Lutheran that is really being referenced, because they have played some summer games there, 5-a-side at there. But I just thought I'd draw attention to that, because there was, the showgrounds play an important part in the preliminary season for the soccer club. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Maidment.
Yes, I acknowledge that this is a great deal of work involved to get it to this point. I do acknowledge there are quite a few gaps, some, as Councillor Miller said, some outdated information, which will no doubt be captured from the community. They will come forward. It's like herding cats, asking the clubs to give all the information to a survey, and just an email to the president or the secretary is probably not going to cut it. There needs to be some one-on-one interaction with these groups, and it's challenging. I know that there's possibly 8 groups at Strathalbyn that were not captured in the initial draft of this, and there's some information there that, excuse me, that I provided feedback on. So, but we need to move forward with it, and good luck.
Is there any further discussion? You'll close the debate, yep.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to, one thing I didn't mention was that I hope we're going to write to our schools and get their feedback. What we did discover with the Strathalbyn Town Plan consultation, which was, I'll mention that later, but as you walked in the door, there was a survey that said, you put a ping pong ball in a jar that said, and to get people in the thinking forward, what age will you be in 15 years' time? And when we do the drop-ins for this, I think that's something really important to think about as well, because it makes you think, you know, I hope we involve the schools in the next phase of our Strathalbyn Town Plan consultation, but I think this is something that if you want to get some different perspective, we should make sure that all of our schools, from primary to high school, have an opportunity to have awareness of this and have some comment as well. So I look forward to hearing the community's response to this.
That closes the discussion, so I'll put the recommendations to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. So 9.15, it's legislative updates, delegation considerations for the CEO. Tash, is there anything to add to this report? If not, there's a recommendation there with 4 points. Moved Councillor Livingston. Seconded Councillor Maidment. Any discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 9.16 is the conflict of interest obligations from the Ombudsman SA. Tash, anything to add to that? No. The recommendation there with 2 dot points. The mover for that, Councillor Scott. The seconder, Councillor Coomans. Any discussion? So I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. (9.17) is the Murray-Darling Association Region 6 Basin Plan Review. Andrew, anything to add to that report?
Through the Chair, thank you. Probably just to say that myself with Councillor Livingston and Sarah Rose are sort of in the process of drafting a submission on behalf of MDA Region 6. You can see in the report some of the feedback that's specifically been provided by Region 6, but also the River Lakes Coorong Action Group. If there's anything else from any other members that you feel should be included in MDA Region 6's submission, please feel free to give myself or Councillor Livingston an email, and we can look to include anything that you feel is missing. It's probably also worth noting that the deadline date is the 1st of May for this submission. We're working with the MDA Region 6 members to make sure we hit that deadline. Yeah, I sort of lost my train of thought, but yeah, again, if you have anything else, please let us know. Thank you.
To move it and speak to it.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Park. So I just also wanted to provide some context for members in case it was a question that it hasn't been proposed that Council provide its own submission, and for context, it's because of the resources that are going into this submission, with us now being the member council to provide the administrative support to Region 6. So a lot of work will be being put into the submission at that region level.
Through the Chair, just that the point I was wanting to make was we do intend to bring a report back to the May meeting at Council to for the information of elected members, so you can actually see the full submission.
So do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Oliver. Is there any discussion? Councillor Miller.
Very quick comment, Your Worship. I think the point the CEO just made then is really important, because it would be important for our community to see what the submission was that was made on their behalf by us. So thank you. I'm glad that's coming back.
Is there any further discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 9.18 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Andrew, anything to add to that report? There's a recommendation that that report for March 2026 be received. Moved Councillor Maidment. Seconded Councillor Gardner. Any questions or discussion relating to Andrew's report? Councillor Maidment.
Yes, I'd like to ask the CEO, were there any learnings or any information that you could impart to us regarding the strategy meeting of RDA? The meeting was held on the 6th of March.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear the question.
Anything from that meeting, of that strategy meeting, which would be relevant to this, to Alexandrina Council?
Nothing specifically. They're sort of still in the process of developing that strategy. So the session I attended was really a workshop to, I guess, brainstorm what should be considered as part of that next strategic plan.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. 9.19 is the Council Resolution Register. Andrew, anything to add to that report? No. There's a recommendation there before you that we receive a note. Move for that is Councillor Coomans. Seconder, Councillor Gardner. Any questions or discussion? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Item 10 is committee reports. There are none. Item 11 is council member reports. 11.1 is the presiding member's report, my report for March 2026. Anything I need to add to that? No. So it's recommendation that be received and noted. Move Councillor Oliver. Seconder, Councillor Livingston. Sorry. Any questions or comments relating to that report? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Right, Councillor Scott, let's all stay together. So, all those in favour? Against? It is carried unanimously. 11.2 is the council member activity report. We have a report from Councillor Gardner regarding her activities for March 2026. Is there a mover for that? Move Councillor Livingston. Seconder, Councillor Maidment. Councillor Gardner, do you have anything you wish to add to that report? No? Or any questions or discussion? Councillor Scott.
Yes, I went representing you to the Southern Communities Transport Scheme, and I guess when we're just sitting here, it's just community transport, but behind that, there's an army of people that are volunteering to drive people. I think they've got, I think I'm right in saying it's 7 vehicles, and I think off the top of my head 48 drivers, and we've got one based in Goolwa, I believe. It really opened my eyes. I was sort of had a bit of an understanding years ago, but it just has expanded, and it is an amazing operation, and we need to make sure we're supporting it as much as we can. Thank you.
Any further discussion or questions of Councillor Gardner's report? No, so I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. 11.3 is council member activity report and verbal updates. I just emphasise these are things that relate to your role as a council member. Is there anything to add to that report? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to mention 3 things. The Strathalbyn Town Plan consultation was done very, very well, and very well appreciated by the 150 so people who turned up. And I want to thank the staff for what they did. I also attended a kick off your boots screening on Friday night at the Nicholson Hall at the Showgrounds in Strath. Hugely attended and sold out by over 200 people. And the Woodchester 85th celebration of the hall there at Woodchester, which was really special yesterday. And if I may, Your Worship, I wish to address just a couple of comments made in the meeting about the questions on notice that I asked and the amount of time taken by staff. And I asked them on notice because they are asked of me by my community, and I want the answers to be publicly available as one source of truth and not as an email coming from me. And if it takes staff that long, I know you have told me off in the past, Your Worship, for using staff as my research officers, but if I can't find what I'm looking for, and I do have a bit of an idea of where to look, then how on earth is a member of the public to easily find it? Council administration has the access and the resources to easily find the answers to my questions. That it took staff that long, I hope you can imagine how long it would take me or a member of the public to try and find those answers in a public document. I also think the commentary and questioning of my questions, not for the first time, and the questioning of my motivation says so much more about the people who make those comments than it does about me. Thank you.
Any other verbal updates? No. So is there a mover that we accept that, Councillor Livingston? Seconder, Councillor Thornton. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the recommendation to you. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Item 12 is confidential items. So thank you for coming, members of the gallery. Thank you.
South Coast Television, your community, your voice.